Coming up on today's show, we are exploring nature and wildlife that is unique to Northeast Ohio. We're learning about different plants, animals, and ways to enjoy the place that we call home. New Day Cleveland starts right now. Getting out in nature is probably one of the best things for us, and Kim Scott-Swinski is probably one of the best experts, I believe, on what it really means to get out in nature and feel good about yourself from the inside out. You are a fitness expert, you're a fitness guru, and you love being outdoors.
I don't know. Yeah, I do. I don't know how much of an expert.
You are.
But I have, come to realize over the 40 years I've been teaching the importance and the necessity of being outdoors on a regular basis. They call it ecotherapy, and it's also integrated with something called forest bathing. It originated in Japan in the 80s because of the tech boom that was going on. Japan had a huge issue with people and depression. So they actually created this program of having people go outdoors, and Shinrin-yoku is forest bathing. And so that's immersing into nature and slowing down, being quiet, noticing small things, using all of your senses, what you see, what you hear, what it smells like, and just embrace everything about nature, because nature connects with us on a regular basis. We're walking through hemlocks now. They give off a chemical called phytoncides, which when we breathe in and take a deep breath, it actually lowers our cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone.
It's amazing because I always wonder why it feels so good to be out here. When you explain that, it makes perfect sense. We're at the Brecksville Reservation, which is one of the many beautiful spots that you go to throughout the metro parks. It's one of the largest?
It is. It is the largest out of the 18 metro parks. I know it's over 4,000 acres because they acquired many more acres a few years ago, and I love the variety in here. You can do hills, you can go flat if you want for a little bit. They have a natural playground here, a beautiful nature center, and it's great for all ages. You can actually just sit here and get benefit from being here, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, from the heart.
I mean, that is so true. You could just sit here. You also teach some of your classes here.
I do, and people love it. I've been teaching here probably about 15 years outdoors. Wow. I did yoga hikes for the metro parks. I do them now for the Conservancy, so for the national parks. And just to combine doing conditioning with being outdoors, taking in all that great air and just breathing, and then the camaraderie with people. And that's one of the pillars of wellness and longevity anyway.
Not only is it the physical activity you're getting, but more so, and probably more important even, the mind, what it is doing mentally.
Yeah.
I mean, you were mentioning to me this, even noticing on the trees, the patterns of things have helped patients who have gone through medical conditions.
Right, so stroke patients a lot of times go through rehab looking at what we call fractals, and they're patterns. So think about maybe a fern, how it comes out, and you see those lines, and that helps our brain to be stimulated in a good way. Another way to calm down, and the way that the woods and the forest affect our nervous system, our parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest, is to breathe deeply. You can do a lot of breath practice called pranayama in yoga. Take it and calm yourself down, lowering blood pressure, lowering our heart rate. Just the feeling of wellness and being alive and having energy, or just calming down. I remember when my dad passed away, I just came in here, ran and cried. But it's healing to be in nature, and people find that out and they don't know why they feel so good. But we can hear water right now from the Chippewa Creek. So if you just listen to water, wind through the trees, and birds, it's a perfect trifecta for your brain to be calm. And that's why we feel good in the woods. And also if you think about going to the beach, because you have the water, you have the wind, and you have the birds. So it's all right here.
It's all right. It's nature's medicine, and it's free.
It is.
It can transform your life, and
we're so blessed, honest to goodness.
We really are.
We're not far from any metro park or national park. I mean, 15, 20 minutes for most people.
How do we get sign up for classes with you?
So you can go to my website, cravenaturecleveland.com, all one word. It has my contact info, so feel free to get in touch with me and join us we've got a lot of different classes throughout the year. And
you give back with
do.
the money from these classes, which is one of the most beautiful things about it too. You give back to nature, you give back to people.
The people that make it happen, keep the trails nice and cleared off, make the repairs, do all the things that we benefit from, for sure.
You're amazing, Kim. I need to sign up. I want to see you one of her classes because I'm going to be there too. Thank you so much for taking me this walk.
You're
Let's
welcome.
just sit and just have a little Zen moment, shall we?
A sit spot.
Yes.
It's called a sit spot.
Well, John, if you're going to talk about nature and wildlife, I think you brought us to the right spot here.
Well, you know, there's so many places around Northeast Ohio, and that's the awesome thing about that, is just there's so much here. And I think the fun actually begins when you get off path. So in the parks and such, that's fine, but there's things that you can learn off path or on the path or whatever through the park system, and then translate it to your backyard too.
It's wild to me too. We were just a few feet off the road here. What's the name of the park?
This is the Bridal Veil Falls, Bedford Reservation.
All kinds of falls here. And walking around with him too, it is sort of like you got to stop every 2 or 3 seconds because you pick up something and you saw those little tiny larvae about to become something else on the leaf.
Yes, we looked at leaf galls. So I'm walking through here, and people will see this a lot about trees in their own yards. But you can see this wood on the tree here and how it's kind of smooth and it's different than some of the other wood in the bark. That was an injury. So when a tree gets an injury, the tree doesn't heal like you and I do. It seals, it compartmentalizes. So every year when this injury happens, it puts out a new growth ring this year and then next year and next year and next year and next year, and it seals over and it seals this injury. And the cool thing is this wood is actually more dense and stronger than the original wood. So when a tree gets an injury, it actually protects itself by putting up stronger wood.
So what about these trees back there that you said they burned down a long time ago, but somehow they still have a way to come back?
Well, we were talking about emerald ash borer, and emerald ash borer has killed all the ash trees pretty much in North America, or is in the process of doing that. But the seeds remain in the ground for years, sometimes
so they're going to make it back.
So the ash trees are coming back.
Because up at the top of the hill, I see some giant trees. So what's going on in that? That's sort of a grove on top of a hill.
It is, and we talk about this. People, you might have heard the phrase called a microclimate.
Yeah.
Well, different climates, like the different sides of your house. You got the sunny side, the shady side. Well, there's microclimates in nature like this, and even including on tops of hills versus the sides of hills versus the bottomland and all this. There's some marvelous hemlocks up here. There's some huge oak trees up there. I saw some white oak or
How
swamp
old do you
white
think
oak.
They are?
At least a century, century and a half, something like that. So they're beautiful trees. And again, just because a tree is really big doesn't necessarily mean it's really old. Because if a tree is really happy and it's growing, the growth rings will be bigger and the tree will be fatter, but it might actually be fairly young. As we understand this, we can do better things around our trees. We have all this pathway around the trees.
So beautiful here.
It is, and the pathway is actually nice. It's gravel and such.
Yeah.
But when you walk on the soil, you actually compact the soil. And trees actually don't like that. So if you compact the soil, the roots can't breathe, essentially, as exchange of oxygen and CO2.
Path.
Well, stay on the path, or even if you're going to do construction around your house.
Oh.
So if you have construction equipment and it compacts the soil, and a big existing tree is not going to, they don't like changes in their soil environment. So most tree problems actually are below ground.
Yeah.
So, and the tree roots, even these big trees, their tree roots are most of them in the top 12 inches.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about this. How are there so many different kinds of trees all close together? How did all the seeds get mixed up that there's so many different varieties?
Maybe there was a flood that washed seeds from a high area to a low area and it started developing. But a lot of this is trees grow in sites. They don't grow in like a hardiness zone or a range. So if a tree is happy in a site, it will grow. If it's not happy, it doesn't grow. So trees produce tens of thousands of acorns or seeds or samaras, the little helicopters. If the ground isn't suitable for it, they won't grow. So these things have actually found areas that they like, and they're growing well. So again, like I mentioned, up on the ridge there is some monstrous hemlocks up there, and we can see some of them in here. So these what looks to be white oaks they're very happy in this particular area.
So a minute ago, you said it was like 100 years. Some of those trees up there. So
easily.
So if it took 100 years to grow, it could take 100 years for you to tell me about everything here because there's so much going on here, right?
More than that. More than that.
John, thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Do you enjoy the outdoors?
A little bit.
Do you think he does?
And being outdoors, you're healthier, you're happier, you're calmer, you grow older, you're healthier in your old age. Your kids will benefit. So the health benefits of being out amongst trees specifically.
I feel better
amazing.
already.
Good. That's part of why I do what I do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Still to come, a destination of fun for the whole family. Wildlife is all around us, and sometimes the wildlife needs a little bit of help, and that is where the Kevin P. Clinton Wildlife Center comes into play here at Penitentiary Glen. I have Tracy with me. Hi. And a beautiful bird. This is Cliff.
This is Cliff. He's our peregrine falcon. He's a permanent resident here at the Wildlife Center.
You have permanent residents that become ambassadors of sorts, so we can really learn about the wildlife in our area as well.
Absolutely. This is a great tool for us to go out there and spread the message of wildlife conservation. We're so lucky to be able to have a live animal on our glove like this, so it really can connect with everyone.
And I know it breaks our hearts to know that they can't be let into the wild because of their conditions, but at the same time, it's so wonderful that you're giving them this second chance at life. What's his story?
Yeah, so Cliff's story is actually in May of 2013, so he's been here a little time now.
Hello.
He's gonna tell us about it. That's perfect. So he unfortunately got into a collision and he suffered some head trauma and some trauma to his wings, so his left wing doesn't have full really his feathers don't grow properly, he can't get sustained flight, and then the head trauma as well. So he could not be released to the wild. So at that point, we're like, okay, we can work with him and let him help us teach the message.
And it's amazing. So he's just one of many that I see out here. What types of other birds of prey do you have out here?
Yeah, so we actually have several different types of native Ohio wildlife. We have owls, we have falcons, we have hawks. We also have mammals, and we have snakes and turtles too. So we have 21 animal ambassadors that help us teach about conservation.
Well, it's amazing that you do. I mean, I see the children are walking around right now and they're very intrigued by what they see. So you're really getting to the youth and letting them learn how they can help. And again, if someone sees a bird of prey that is, say, injured and in need of help, they call you.
Yeah, they call the Lake Metro Parks Kevin P. Clinton Wildlife Center. We are here every day from 9 to 5. We do take animals that are in need of rehabilitation by appointment only, but definitely give us a call. We can work you through so many situations. And then, we'll go from there. And then if there's those chances where they're not able to be released to the wild, sometimes they do find a permanent home here.
Well, I think it's amazing. And you can come see them in their permanent home because, again, this is a beautiful time of year to come out and enjoy nature and really get a feel for all the animals that you're helping here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for
I'm
coming
going to
out.
learn more about the rehabilitation program a little later on with Tammy.
Yeah,
I'm very excited to see more.
Good. Yes, more to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Don, as in Don King, I'm having an epiphany right now. You said you're going to take us out into the forest and show us how mushrooms grow and where they grow. And then I discovered that they're a little finicky. They only grow when they want to grow.
They only grow when they want to go. Yeah, I scouted the location yesterday. Lots of mud, lots of rain, no mushrooms.
So this is where we help Mother Nature a little bit.
We grow lots of mushrooms here.
Okay.
We grow about 9 different varieties of mushrooms, 7 of which are culinary mushrooms. The other 2 are medicinal.
Are any of these like the ones we would have found had Mother Nature been kind to us?
Possibly, yes. As a matter of fact,
look what's here.
Ironically, we happen to have some mushrooms here.
Who is this bearded fellow?
So that is a lion's mane mushroom. And lion's mane are, they are definitely grow here in Ohio. They're more prevalent in fall, but they can be found in spring as well.
Any particular kind of tree you'd find it on, or rock?
Just hardwoods. Basically,
hardwoods.
yeah, any kind of hardwood, beech, oak. They're not too picky.
Can you confuse this with something else that could be dangerous?
No, the only thing you're going to confuse that for are 2 other lookalikes that are in the same genus and are also edible. So
we're doing good.
You're really good.
Okay, that's lion's mane.
Yeah.
This one looks a little freaky because sometimes they say they look freaky. So this is Ohio-like too, huh?
Yeah, this is called a chestnut mushroom. These are also found out in the wild. A really beautiful mushroom, beautiful
on a tree
or
on the ground.
Yeah, always on the tree. Like all of these mushrooms here
so
that we
grow. So
grow.
these are almost like tree pieces.
Exactly. We're using sawdust and soy hulls. But basically, we're trying to reproduce what's happening in nature by growing them inside these bags where there's a lot of moisture, and they just basically pop out wherever we cut holes in the bags.
I've never tried these. What would the taste be on something like this?
These are nutty, a little.
They should be.
Yeah, they're kind of nutty.
They look nutty and they look like nuts.
A little sweet. They stay crisp like a vegetable when you cook them.
Can
So
I
they
touch
have
one?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, very firm.
Very firm, very dense, very meaty.
Now these I sort of recognize.
Yeah. What do you think those are?
They remind me of oysters.
Oysters, that's what they are.
Oh,
yeah,
how about
this is
that?
the exact same species you can find in the wild here. This is what we would call our like winter oysters, or the oysters that would generally grow in fall and spring when it's very cold.
On a tree also?
Also on a tree, yeah.
Okay, how do you cook these different if you're going to cook them? If you go out and you're hunting them, you find them, you don't confuse them with something else.
Right.
How do you cook these?
So the oysters and the chestnuts, I like to cook with high heat. Like getting that pan nice and hot.
Can I use
get
butter?
You can use butter. You can use oil. You can do a dry saute, a dry sear, where you put them in a nonstick skillet with nothing, and then cook them for a while, and then maybe coat them in butter later. The lion's mane's a little trickier. Lion's mane, on high heat, I've found sometimes it tastes a little bitter. It can the edges can kind of burn. So I usually back the heat off of that.
So you get a cooking lesson from him, how to find them, what's safe and what's not, and he really knows, because here at Epiphany in Akron, you travel around this place, look around, there's all kinds of different mushrooms and such, but we wanted to make sure you saw what comes from Northeast Ohio and what you could find as Don King, the mushroom hunter, usually discovers and brings to our show.
Yeah, and we grow many other varieties, but we're not featuring them today because they're not necessarily Ohio species.
So do you have a website where we can get some of these mushrooms?
EpiphanyMushroom.com.
Very difficult to understand.
Yeah.
Remember, EpiphanyMushroom.com. Check it out. Great to see you, Don.
You too.
After the break, I'm getting an inside look at the Animal Rescue Center. I'm quickly coming to find there is so much that they offer to help animals here at the Kevin P. Clinton Wildlife Center at Penitentiary Glen. Tammy, you work with these animals day in and day out.
Yes.
And you have such a variety.
Oh, yes.
In this little case here, we have two of the cutest little bunnies I think I ever did see.
Yes, they are very cute. So these two little bunny nuggets, they're very tiny. These guys have their eyes closed right now.
What do you do to nurse them into good health so that they're ready to be
We
let
have
go?
a special milk formula we use that's specific for rabbits, and we actually will tube feed them a couple times a day just to keep their weights up, and you know, it's a nice, healthy, nutritious formula so that they develop correctly and we don't see any issues as they're getting older. Yeah.
They are precious.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of other animals. You have bats, one I've never seen up close and personal before.
Yes.
So can we go and
Yes,
check out their bat friend?
absolutely.
Okay, Tammy, is that our little bat friend in there?
Yes, so we're getting the bat out right now. This is a big brown bat, and they're one of the more common ones we get throughout the winter because they like to hibernate in people's houses. And when people are their winters warming up and cooling down so much, they get active, but we don't want to leave them in people's houses, so we will overwinter them here. And a lot of times we'll even hibernate them in a wine cooler, but we just woke them all up, so they'll be getting released soon.
That little noise he's making it's so little.
Yes.
See, now this makes me like, when you go flying around in my head and I get afraid, I might not be as afraid now. They're so
Well,
cute.
no, they're very smart. Their echolocation prevents them from running into things.
Now, what do you feed him? He
This
loves
is a
bats.
special bat mix. We feed them. They also get live mealworms, but this is really nutritious for them, and we just want to make sure they're getting a good fat layer.
Is he full grown? He's a baby.
He's a full grown.
Wow.
Yeah, these guys can get up to like 22 grams, which is really tiny.
You have a lot of little ones here, but what other types of animals do you take in?
So we take in all native Ohio wildlife. It's always a good idea to call us first and just see if it's something we take or not. But if not, we always have a lot of other organizations that we can refer people to that do take some of those
that's
species.
wonderful.
We have a wildlife hotline. Our front desk staff that answers the hotline will help you through any wildlife situation.
And we're so glad that they have people like you who are willing
Yes.
to nurse them back to good health. Okay, I can't get over this. This is a little baby. It's a baby fox?
Yes.
Hi,
Yes.
Angel.
This one was just found in somebody's yard by itself for a long time. We did try to instruct them to try to leave it alone for a little bit in a box to make sure that the mom truly had abandoned it, because we want to give the mom every opportunity to come back and get her babies.
So what is the process like to rehabilitate her?
So whenever we get any animal in, we do a full exam first to make sure, see what's going on with them. Like especially babies, we see if they have nutritional deficiencies, if they have any development issues, because sometimes the moms will purposely discard them if there's any issues from birth. And then we go from there. A lot of times with babies, we just need to provide them good nutrition, provide them ways to, develop their hunting skills and hiding and knowing what to eat and things like that, and just space to run and play. And then with something this small, because it came in alone, we really are careful not to imprint them. So we feed her, and then the rest of the day we really try to leave her alone. We'll put a mirror in the cage with her. Sometimes we'll wear like this fox mask.
I was
so she
wondering that
doesn't-
because
yeah.
she would be so used to humans, then would she be able to fend on her own?
Right.
But so she will be at a point where you'll be able to let her off into the wild again.
Yeah, like she's right now, she's not acting friendly. She's just nervous and not sure what's going on.
I mean, I get it. We have a camera on her. You're a star though right now.
So she's very curious at this age, but she is to the point where she can eat on her own. So we're starting to offer her more and more of an adult diet.
It's just amazing what you do to help. I mean, you got your stethoscope out. You're like, it's just like us. You think
Yes.
you take care of us the same
Yeah,
way.
they get a full physical exam when they come in, and we can treat them medically if we need to. A lot of the animals come in with injuries, so we can do a lot of medical care here as well.
Well, it's amazing what you do. Thankfully, we have. And again, if someone has an animal they find, best thing to do first would be to contact you. You work through the process to see if they really do need to come in, and if they do need to come in, you know they're going to be in really good hands. here at the Wildlife Center. Thank you so much for having me. I can't believe I saw
coming out.
this close. Still to come, a local landscape that is home to some endangered species. Northeast Ohio is home to many varieties of plants and animals, but this one unique landscape is home to rare and endangered species. We're heading to the Headlands Dunes State Nature Preserve.
We are in Lake County. We are near the city of Paynesville and the city of Mentor, and this is known as the Headlands Dunes State Nature Preserve. Right next door to us is Headlands Beach State Park. Essentially, it is a natural sand dune plant community that we find along the coast of Lake Erie. Here in Ohio, a typical beach, most people think when they come to it, they see a flat, kind of open expanse, which we do have here at the state park. But a dune is a lot more than that. So here at the preserve, we let nature kind of take its course. So sand, as it blows along the shoreline, as it comes up from the lake with wind and wave action, it kind of deposits naturally along driftwood, along some of the vegetation we find here. And over time, it builds up and builds up and builds up. And so you get this really dynamic landscape, which is probably different from the mindset of most people have for a beach. Here at Headlands, when a lot of people come here that have never been here before, it's almost reminiscent of the Carolinas, somewhere along the Atlantic coast. So that makes it very special. There are a number of plant species that we say are endemic or we find only in these coastal areas. Here at the preserve, we have over a dozen rare, threatened, or endangered plants, which are unique to these coastal environments. Not only can you find those plants here in this freshwater system of the Great Lakes along Lake Erie, but you can find a number of them along the Atlantic coast as well. One plant in particular is called lyre-leaved rockcress, and if you were to look at it, you wouldn't think much of it. But it is actually one of our state endangered plants. So it's only found in a few places throughout Ohio, and here at Headlands actually it's probably the largest population in the state. There is almost no end to the kind of wildlife that you can find here at Headlands. This is one of the premier birding hotspots in the state.
What happens in finding these birding hotspots is when you have a a bunch of different habitats close by. And so here you have Great Lakes, you have the shoreline, you have the dunes, you have the forest, you have the beach. With this grouping of habitats, different birds and different habitats, it's a great place to watch birds.
We're going to start seeing a lot of the neotropical migrants coming through, the warblers, tons of shorebirds, bald eagles. But beyond all the birds, there's mammal wildlife. We see fox here, we see deer, we see mink, all sorts of things. Even wild turkey sometimes will be roaming through the dunes, which is really interesting. Beyond the ecological significance, which is obviously really important, right? When you're talking about rare, threatened, and endangered species, when people come to the beach, it's kind of a relaxing situation. You know, you get this kind of relief, this stress relief. You come out, you see the water, you know, there's a breeze blowing, you have this beautiful setting. So there's a lot for people just from that emotional standpoint that's really beneficial.
And I think just about anybody who comes here has some sense of surprise that leads to awareness and appreciation of what we're really doing.
This is a really important job for me personally, because I know how rare this ecosystem is, and I know also how much people really enjoy it. So being the caretaker of that, being the steward of that, being able to interpret to them the importance of having sand dunes and the vegetation and the plants and animals that are associated with it is just really invaluable. And I take that very seriously, but it's also a great thing to do.
You can visit the Headlands Dunes State Nature Preserve in Menor, and still to come, beautiful flowers that you can find in your own backyard. There's nothing like getting out in nature and seeing things like plants that are native to Northeast Ohio that we might not know what they are, but I have a trained botanist with me who can help us as we maybe go through some of the past. We're here at the Geauga Park District, and I have Judy with me with Native Plant Society. Thank you so much for taking me on this little stroll. We're stopping right away at the start of the trail here because you found something.
It has many different names. I'll share some of the different names. One of the names I use is trout lily because the leaves are speckled like a trout. They bloom during trout season, and it is a true member of the lily family, 6 yellow petals. Another name for it's called fawn lily because the 2 leaves stick up, looks like the ears of a fawn.
Ah, interesting. So this is one of how many that are native to Northeast Ohio when it comes to wildflowers?
Hundreds of wildflowers.
Hundreds?
Yes.
Wow, we have a lot of searching to do along this trail. Let's keep going, shall we? Now, Judy, these I feel like I remember growing up as a child, but I just thought they were weeds.
A lot of people think they are weeds because they're growing in their lawns, but it adds a nice splash of color and it attracts the insect that are looking for something to eat. The bottom petal of the violet has little stripes on it to direct the insect to the back of the flower, like landing lights at an airport.
We think of them as maybe we brush these off the side and think they're not important, but they really do play an important role in the environment.
It started the whole life cycle.
Yeah.
Because they attract insects to feed, and then the birds need insects to feed their babies as they're growing up, because the birds are nesting right now.
Love this. Okay, let's keep going. These plants look vibrant and green. What are these?
These are called skunk cabbage. And
why are they called skunk cabbage?
Well, one of the reasons because it smells like burning rubber. Fairly strong and pungent.
That's horrible!
The Native Americans use them to get rid of headaches.
Really? So what would they do? Wipe this on their...
No, they smell it to get rid of headaches.
Well, I mean, if it works for that, then great, because I wish you could smell. Maybe you, being around here, maybe a lot of people have had the chance to smell this growing up. I have not. That's...
Because it grows in wetlands. Most people don't like to climb into wetlands.
That's terrible.
This plant comes up in November and it starts blooming in February because it melts a circle around the plant so you can find it in the middle of winter when you're hiking.
Do the flowers smell just as bad as the rest of the leaves?
It's not as pungent.
Okay. That is the most interesting. I don't know why I keep smelling it.
Inside of this flower, it can be 70 degrees, 30 degrees warmer than the outside temperature. So any early emerging insects go in here to warm up, and it ends up getting pollinated.
Interesting. Well, I learned a lot from that one. The one thing I did learn too, don't smell it ever again. Okay, what do we got?
Okay, this dainty little plant is called Spring Beauty. Typically the flowers look white, but if you look closely down the center, it has little pink lines in them. Again, those are like the violet, the landing lights for the insect to direct them to the back of the flower.
What are these little beauties?
This one has an interesting name. It's called cut leaf toothwort. You can see what the name is. The leaves are very deeply cut.
Mm-hmm.
It's a member of the mustard family. All plants in the mustard family have 4 petals in the shape of a cross, because the old family name for the mustard family was cruciferi, as in crucifix. Back in the 16th century, the herbalists named plants according to what they called the doctrine of signatures. They thought if a plant resembled a part of the body, it was put on this earth to heal that part of the body. So on the roots are little white projections that look like teeth. So the Latin name for this was dentaria. They've recently done more research on them and changed the name to cardamine.
Interesting. That's a fun fact. So Judy, I know we've seen several species here. On any given day when we're walking along the trail, how many do you think that you would be able to point out?
I'd say maybe 15 species that we could have gotten if we kept going.
Which is really interesting when you think about it, just what is right in our midst. And again, don't look at them as weeds, look at them as a part of life and something that's so beautiful. And I imagine your passion as a botanist really comes through with the Native Plant Society. What's the Native Plant Society's mission?
Our mission is to promote the study, appreciation, and conservation of native habitats.
So find the park nearest you and hey, it can be raining out and you can still have fun doing it. We've proven that today. Thank you so much, Judy.
You're welcome.
Something else you can find in your backyard, amphibians. They're cute little critters with a big story. We're visiting the Geauga Parks to learn more.
The West Woods is close to 1,000 acres of forest, wetland, and this place is just a wonderful place to explore every time of year. A vernal pool is a springtime pool. The special critters that come to this pool are amphibian. Amphibians are vertebrate animals just like us, and some examples of amphibians that you might know are frogs and salamanders. The amphibians have a moist, mucousy skin, and most of them breathe through their skin, as well as some of them have lungs. Amphibians have a double life. They spend most of their life on land, but they come to the pool in the springtime for courtship, breeding, and laying eggs. In this bucket, I have a mass of wood frog eggs. This is more of a baseball size, but they can sometimes get to be softball size masses of eggs, and there can be hundreds and hundreds of eggs in there. And as the water warms up, it's temperature dependent how fast these will turn into a tadpole. So this is a male wood frog, and just notice his mask around that beautiful gold eye. So an amphibian needs rain and warm temperatures, and when it's rainy and warm, they come out of their places that they spent the winter, which is under the leaves, down in a mole tunnel, and then they mass migration to these springtime pools. These pools are pools that dry up in the summertime. By June, all those baby froglets and baby salamanders, they've changed from vegetarians with fins and being aquatic, they have gills, and they've changed to a terrestrial critter that still has to be wet, but they're out and about on land. Amphibians are a critical part of our habitat. They're part of the food chain that other things eat, but they eat tons of insects that we don't want to see around, right? All those mosquitoes and flies and all those things that the amphibians eat. So it's all part of this wonderful web of life that we have. And that's why we love the West Woods, because all this lives here. Whoa! So if you want to be able to see and interact with these creatures, our park district often has programs that can guide you through this, but you can come out on your own. I love sharing nature with every age, and especially when I see that first look when a child or an adult touches an amphibian for the first time and realizes how exciting these gifts are that we have in nature. That's what I love to share.
You can explore one of the many beautiful parks in the Geauga Park District. For events and locations, visit them online. Coming up after the break, a local resource that's making big waves in science.
My name is Rachel. I am a naturalist with the Lorain County Metro Parks, and here are some tips of the trade for bird watching. So if it's something new that you want to get into, I would always bring binoculars, especially those birds don't come close. Good for far away looking at birds. Another thing is if you're counting or watching birds, I always recommend a piece of paper and a pen. It's great to have to write down those birds that you see before they fly away. Get out early. Birds like to come out early in the morning. So beautiful morning walk in the summertime. Great time to catch some birds. Put out bird feeders in your backyard. We have some here at the Nature Center. You can come visit during our open hours, but your backyard, having bird seed out for the birds will attract them. And of course, carrying bird guides. If you don't know the bird, you can either have a book like this, or you can go online to different apps like Merlin Bird ID or allaboutbirds.com, and that's a great way to learn how to identify birds that you have seen.
Samantha, I feel like we're getting in on the ground floor, a Cleveland first, a world first, all thanks to the Cleveland Water Alliance. Samantha, what is it and how did you do it?
Yeah, so we are standing on the largest digitally connected freshwater body in the world.
That sounds pretty exciting, pretty how you say, technical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how does it work?
Yeah, so we have built out a telecommunications network over the lake that covers 7,700 square miles, and it's outfitted with hundreds of IoT smart sensors.
So this sounds sort of like an outer space kind of thing, but it's inner space and it's part of our environment.
Exactly. There's sensors on buoys, on bridges, even on the mothership right here.
What do they learn?
They learn about water conditions, so things like wave height, temperature, things that recreational users would want to know, but also water quality, our connectivity, our dissolved oxygen, are things that tell us about the health of the lake so that our water managers can best treat it.
Okay, so we're talking about the Cleveland Water Alliance, and you talked for a moment about adventurers or boaters and those people. So this is not just a project for the scientists, this is something we, the public, can connect to?
Yeah, exactly. You can go on our website right now, clevelandwateralliance.org.
That's pretty wild, isn't it?
Check out a map of the lake, check out a sensor nearby, and see what the wave height is. See if it's safe for you to get out there on a kayak.
So how is it that we, with the smallest lake, the shallowest lake, one of the more interesting lakes, as you point out, ended up with this happening here rather than like Lake Superior or some Lake Michigan?
Yeah, so Lake Erie only has about 2% of the water of the Great Lakes, but it's got over 50% of the fish. It is the shallowest, but it's the most biodiverse. Wow. Yeah, we've got great fishing here on Lake Erie. People come from all over the world to fish here.
You know, the fishing is one thing, but how about the safety? Is there a safety thing involved here?
Yeah, so unfortunately Lake Erie, because it's so shallow, it's prime conditions for things like harmful algal blooms, which often start in the western base of Lake Erie and move further east, and that causes closings like at Edgewater Beach or Menor Headlands Beach. And our sensors can be an early warning system for our water managers and for folks at the metro parks to let people know when it's safe to get into the lakes.
So you talk about early warning and safety, and that's sort of immediate in a way. What kind of things can it predict maybe a year or 2 years, 3 years down the road, do you think?
One really cool thing about this Smart Lake Erie watershed, it's kind of like a living laboratory. So we test and trial cutting edge technology from all over the world. So new in 2025, we're trialing a technology that's real-time E. coli detection. So it'll tell us about the health and safety of the lake in real time. Normally people have to go and grab a sample, take it back to the lab, analyze it. Hours have gone by at that point. People might be in the lake at that point before they can determine whether or not it's safe, but it tells us in real time.
So this sounds like a big web of really cool, sophisticated machinery. But if I were to look around here, could I pick out a piece of the machinery that's doing this for us, and how big is it and what does it do exactly?
Yeah, so there's all kinds of sensors. Some sensors are on top of boats. Some sensors are on bridges, and those can tell us things like the wave height, the precipitation. We even have sensors over by the grass here that tell us about soil quality. But most people know us for our buoys, and those buoys are further out on the lake, closer to the Cleveland Water Intake crib, and are located throughout the lake near water intakes to feed data to utilities.
So who's responsible, who finances all this, and who makes it work? I know you're making it work, but it must be a big web of people also.
Yeah, thanks to funding from the state of Ohio, we are able to provide over 1 million data points annually about our lake and about the water quality. So we are really plugged in here about what's going on.
Yeah, so it's really sort of the beginning. Even though you got so much done in place, it's the beginning.
Yeah, this has really only existed for about 5 years, and it started out a lot smaller. It started out just with Cleveland Water saying, hey, can you tell us more information about our water so we can treat it in real time, and so it can save taxpayers money, ratepayers money, and people time and labor and chemical costs to treat that water. And we used to need a cell phone service line for each buoy to relay data, and we said, what if we built a whole network? People come from all over the world to test and trial their technologies here. We're really working to make Cleveland a destination for solving global freshwater issues right here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
They're on a mission to help wildlife here in Northeast Ohio. Stark Parks is home to a facility giving injured animals a second chance. This is the Wildlife Conservation Center.
The Wildlife Conservation Center is essentially a wildlife animal hospital here. This particular building was built in 2018, and while we've done wildlife rehabilitation for a number of years, this facility really allowed us to increase the quantity and quality of care that we have for animals here in the Stark County area. We receive over 2,000 animals a year, and we're really proud of the fact that about 2 out of every 3 of those animals we're able to care for and reintroduce back out into the wild. Unfortunately, not every animal does survive, but the ones that do and aren't able to be re-released either because of the severity of the injury or because they're too comfortable with humans, we're able to take a number of those animals and work with them to become ambassador animals. And that's really a unique thing that we do here, to be able to get them out into the public and educate the public not only on what we do here at the center, but how important those animals are to the ecosystem.
This is Kessie. This is our American kestrel. She's the smallest of the falcon species in Ohio. She is actually without an eye, and that's what deems her as non-releasable, because birds of prey, even though she's so small, she is a bird of prey. She does hunt live prey, so she has to have 100% vision. And so since she doesn't, she made a great animal ambassador. As you can see, she's perfectly content here on my glove, and she goes out and teaches everybody through schools and everything all about falcons in the area, and she does great.
We have a variety of birds, reptiles, mammals. You don't know what you're going to get in on a day-to-day basis, which is really what's kind of exciting. We've had bald eagles, we've had bobcats. You just don't know.
The intake process here at the Wildlife Center is that when you bring in an animal, you're going to check it in with our administrative assistant, and he's going to give you a case number. And it's wonderful because the public can then call in and check on those animals to see how they're doing throughout the rehabilitation process. Whether it's great news, whether it's hard news, the truth is the best thing, and we always make sure that everybody knows what's going on with the animal in the care that we're giving.
These animals are so important to our ecosystem for any number of reasons, and sometimes you have to see those animals to understand what they do and that they're even here. Like I said, some of these animals you won't see just walking out your back door, but they're there. So we really think it's important to have this facility to educate folks on that and to tell them what we do. We do need a lot of support in that. We have a lot of volunteers who work here. In fact, our veterinary support is all volunteer. They don't get paid for that help. So we are always seeking donations, support of many kinds. If you go on our website, you can go and see our wish list for equipment and for supplies. And you're also able to become an ambassador sponsor. So you can provide a financial contribution to sponsor a lot of our ambassador animals here.
If you're interested in visiting, volunteering, or making a donation to the Wildlife Conservation Center in Massillon, you can head to starkparks.com for more information. So that wraps up our nature and wildlife show. We only scratched the surface when it comes to all of the beauty that is surrounding us. We do encourage you to go out and discover the wonderful environment that we call home. I'm Natalie Herbick, and on behalf of David Moss, we'll see you on the next New Day Cleveland.